Now, and in terms of investigating the economic channel, are financial and tax records important to putting together the cases that can uproot the systems of economic influence?
Transparency is absolutely critical to breaking the strategy of influence and understanding where those sources of funding come from. They are designed to be hidden. They are designed to be opaque. For instance, if you look at Bulgaria, the country that is the most significant provider of foreign direct investment.
Let me jump in
Sure.
away from, I love Bulgaria, but let's look at the United States for a minute. You've talked about the pre-existing weaknesses that the Russian effort exploits. Would one of those pre-existing weaknesses include legal structures that are non-transparent, or to use your words, have lax ownership disclosure requirements?
It's extremely vital to understand beneficial ownership of companies that are participating in major procurements. That is certainly an important vehicle. It's very important to understand where the funding is going.
And in terms of money laundering, understanding beneficial ownership so you can penetrate shell corporations is also important, correct?
Yes, it is.
And are you familiar with what the EU has recently done with respect to beneficial ownership and shell corporations?
Yes, we do follow the EU
So
closely.
they've recently cleaned that up considerably, haven't they?
They are working on, in fact, it's both a G20 initiative to try to prevent tax havens, to help open that up. Investigative journalism has also done an extraordinary amount. The Panama Papers were very illuminating, in particular to our report.
And your recommendation is that we strengthen financial transparency requirements?
Absolutely. It has to be an international effort.
President Ilves, you have the same thing. Part of what you recommend is that it's very important to investigate money laundering. If you're going to investigate money laundering, you have to have access to financial records, correct?
Absolutely.
And you have to have, it would help to have access to tax records to understand the financial picture of individuals who might be involved in the matter.
True.
And shell corporations whose true ownership is indeterminable, how do they function? Are they a hazard, or do you need to be able to look at beneficial ownership, true ownership of corporations in order to understand the economic manipulations?
Absolutely, because you don't know why something is happening unless you know who is the owner. And we've seen these cases across Europe, and not only in, say, the energy field, but also in real estate, but also even in the media, where we're not sure who owns a newspaper, for example.
And Mr. Weinstein, in your work at the Department of Justice and elsewhere, you understand that economic influence and corruption is a Russian tactic here. You say in your testimony, I understand, that it's important, to use your words, to acquire relevant records, such as financial records, in order to effectively understand the danger of the tactic of corruption. Is that correct?
Absolutely, sir.
And that it's also important to be able to produce business records to be able to look through and see what's going on?
Absolutely, yes.
And would tax records be a form of financial and business records that are useful to investigators as they try to determine the scope of the economic influence operation?
Sure. As you know, tax records are a very sensitive topic, and there are special rules about the handling and availability of tax records for prosecutors.
But from an investigative point of view, they're pretty vital.
From an investigative point of view, they're